Hello everybody, Kilo Zulu 4 Charlie Papa here. I want to discuss a couple things with you, and this is mostly directed at new activators in POTA. I myself, or I guess you could say still a rookie. I've only been in the hobby for about 2 years, but I kind of dove in head first and I took off running with POTA. But this is my advice after being in the field for 2 years and what you should be doing if you're a new activator. If I was you, I'd look at a 100-watt radio. There's a lot of good brands out there, and I'm not going to recommend any specific radio. Just find one that puts out 100 watts, and if you got the money for it, buy it. You can always, if you want to do QRP later, you can turn the power down on it and just run 5 watts. But myself, I run 83 watts most of my activations, and I've got several different radios to choose from that I use in different scenarios. The next area you need to look at is antennas, and antennas mean everything. That is really the key of the game. So I'm going to recommend 3 styles of antennas you should look at. And first and foremost is probably a dipole. Probably one of the most efficient, simplest, and cheapest antennas you can get is just a dipole. I would look at dipoles pretty heavily if I was new into the hobby. Second would be an end-fed half wave, probably 10 through 40, because most of the time you're not going to want to run 60 or 80 in a park. I do, but 10 through 40, is going to get you about a 67-foot length antenna. They're fairly cheap and they do really good. I run one every now and then and love my end feds. I have one up the house, and that's what I usually hunt on. The third one is a vertical quarter wave whip. I use that most in my activations. I use it pretty heavily. And for bands below 40, 60, and 80, I use a base loaded vertical. That is what I always use is my vertical antennas, and I love my vertical antennas. I try to look at the game as how quick can I get in and out, and verticals are usually very, very quick for me to set up. It takes me longer to get my log started than it does to put my antenna on my truck and be ready to run. But I would look into them 3 areas. If not, buy all 3. It's always good to have a couple of extras in the truck. I got a box full of antennas in the back of my truck that I don't ever use, but it's always good to have an extra in case something happens. So I would look at a 100-watt radio and get a good antenna. Next, everybody's going to tell you to look at FT8 and CW and this and that and the other. I look at FT8 and CW as a tool in a toolbox. I personally don't chase QSO, so I'm not too worried about doing CW and FT8 right now. I know how to do FT8, and I will every now and then. CW, I'm still learning, and I want to learn, because once the solar cycle goes downhill, knowing CW and FT8 will be a really good tool to have. But me personally, I do mostly everything on single sideband. I go where the hunters are. There's more hunters on single sideband than they are in FT8 and CW. I try not to limit myself. So let's talk bands. If you're very new, I would recommend getting an Elmer and going the Elmer several times until you feel comfortable. The polyps in 20 and 40 are pretty and crazy at times and can be intimidating. So if you're starting out, you would may look at like at 17 or 15. Activate on them. The QSO rate's going to be a lot slower on them. So it may get you a little bit more comfortable before you go to 20 and 40. But the breadwinners are going to be 20 and 40. That's where the majority of the hunters hang out. I live on the eastern side of the United States, and 40 is definitely a winner for me. Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, Michigan. There's so many great hunters in my 40-meter range. I run 40 a lot. I've ran 40 on rove after rove after rove all day long and never come off of 40. 40 will work for you all day and all night. You just got to be in a good area that you've got a bunch of hunters on 40 meters, and luckily I do, so I run 40 quite a lot. I've actually been running 20 here lately because my QSO numbers on 40 are just ridiculous. So I've been trying to give other people the chance to get to park by running 20. But that's 3 areas I would look at if I was you being a new activator is antenna, radio, and bands. I wish y'all luck. I hope y'all get into the hobby and enjoy it. I know I do. I got into ham radio as emergency preparedness. Then I got into POTA and found out that I really enjoy the hobby, and I've been hunting and activating quite a lot since. But find your Elmer, get your feet wet, and enjoy it, and try to learn something. Try to improve every chance you go out. This is kind of the name of the hobby is, we're amateur radio operators, so improving and learning new things is always a good part of the hobby. But this is Kilo Zulu 4 Charlie Papa, also known as Kilo 8 Bravo Sierra Romeo Stroke 15. May your logs be full, and I am QRT.